Hello. Hi, guys. I'm sorry for the delay. There was a little technical issue. I'm just going to wait for you all to join. Okay. Yes, perfect. Hi, Deepti. Finally. Okay, guys, extremely sorry for the delay. I'll just wait for 1 minute till I see a couple of faces. I have 3 people now. Great. 5. Amazing. Hello, guys. Hello, everyone. Hi, Sheetal. Lovely. I'm so glad you all have taken time out on a Sunday morning. Hi, Ariha. Okay, great. We have some crowd now. Okay, amazing, guys. Good morning. I hope you all have gone through the recipe that Deepti posted on the group. Yeah. Hi, Vandana. How are you? Okay, guys. So today we are going to be making some extremely easy Jeera biscuits. You can the ingredient list you see. There's no baking powder. There's no baking soda. So it's you will have most of these ingredients on hand at home. So butter is the only luxury item here. Okay. Without further ado, I'm just going to show you the pre-made ingredients, and we'll just talk a little about what substitutions you can do, and let's just get started. Okay. Hi, Meenu. Hi, Vandana. Good morning. Okay, guys. So these are my ingredients. Um, I have butter here. I've taken salted butter. It's Amul salted butter. You can take any other brand of butter. So I also prefer using President. So whatever is available. So it's either Amul salted or it's President salted butter. Okay. This butter is at room temperature. So if you see right now, it's pretty soft. Okay. So it's not melted, but it's nice and soft. Okay. If you're taking butter that's directly out of the fridge, then I suggest you just microwave it for about 10 seconds. Okay, this quantity of butter, just microwave for 10 seconds and just press and see. If it's nice and soft like this, then it's good to go. Okay. After that, I have salt, 1/4 teaspoon. So even though this is salted butter, I'm going to add a little bit of salt, which is 1/4 teaspoon. If you're using unsalted butter, add about half a teaspoon salt. Okay. I just have a little bit of milk. I'll show you how and when to add it. I have some jeera here. Because we're making jeera biscuits, this jeera, what I've done is I've just jeera ko thoda roast kiya hai on a tawa. Okay, so just on a non-stick pan or on a tawa, you just lightly roast your jeera till it's nice and brown, and just crush it. Okay, so using a mortar pestle, just crush it lightly. So it also has a little bit of jeera dust, and it has a few whole pieces of jeera inside. So that's my jeera. Then I have powdered sugar. Powdered sugar, you can just use sugar that you grind at home. Okay, so just your regular powdered sugar. 25 grams of powdered sugar. I have Maida, which is 65 grams. And I have 60 grams of whole wheat flour or your Atta. Okay, so for this recipe, if you don't want to use Atta, you can use entire Maida. Okay, so you don't have to do half and half. You can use all Maida, 125 grams of Maida, or you can use the entire Atta. The only thing, when you use Atta, your biscuit will not be as fine. Okay, so when you break these biscuits, well, I will show you once it's baked. So when you break it, it's just going to crumble in your hand. So that will not happen if you use entire Maida. We'll get started with the process. It's fairly simple. So you just take your butter. Okay, you smash it down a little. Just make sure it's nice and soft. Okay, once you know that all the butter is nice and soft, you will add your sugar. So I'm adding my powdered sugar to this. Guys, I won't be able to see your questions right now, so just give me a while. Once I finish this process, I will have time to interact with you all, so I'll address your questions then. Okay. So I'm just going to mix this very well. You don't really need any fancy equipment for this. You can do this using a spoon. I prefer doing it using a spatula just because, the bowl keeps clean and I like it that way. So just smash it with a spatula. Once you see entire sugar and butter is mixed, that's when you will add your salt. Okay, so just take your salt. Okay, once this is done, I'm going to add my Maida and the Atta. Okay. Now for any kind of cookie, we don't want to mix it too much. Okay, when you mix your flour with your butter, you don't want to overmix it, because if you overmix, what happens? Your cookie tends to get tough. Okay, you want a cookie that crumbles easily and that melts in your mouth. Okay, so if you develop the gluten in the flour, which is the protein content of the flour, too much, then your cookie will not be crumbly, as in it won't be very, it won't have a very fine texture like how this is supposed to be. It will rather get dense and chewy. Okay, so you don't want that. Now at this stage, you can also use your hands. Okay, but when you're using your hands, don't make atta. You're not making atta here. You're not kneading your dough. You're just mixing. Okay, once you do this, it's still not come together, but I'm also going to add my jeera. Smells delicious. The smell of freshly roasted jeera is really nice. Okay, and now I'm going to switch to my hands. Okay, just to see if it binds well. Okay. Now here I've written 1 to 2 teaspoon milk in the recipe. Okay, it depends, because if your butter is too soft or if your butter is too hard. Okay, then if your butter is soft, you might not need to add milk. If your butter is too hard, you might need to add some milk just so that you can roll out the cookie dough. Okay, so now I can see my my dough is still very, very crumbly. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of milk, starting with 1 teaspoon at a time. Okay, and then just mix it all up. Okay, I need to add some more milk. Also, if you're using maida, तो आपको इतना milk डालने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, because maida absorbs liquid very, very fast. So it's going to be a little more sticky dough versus when you put whole wheat flour as well. Okay, so right now I've put half and half. So you do need to add some milk to this recipe. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to add some more milk. Okay. Yes. So I've added 3 teaspoons milk so far, and my dough has come together. Okay. So I'm just going to make a nice ball, and then I'll start rolling it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just getting all the bits and pieces together. Okay, so my dough is ready. I'll now take parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, just take good quality butter paper. Okay, just make sure that the cookie does not stick. So I generally prefer using this parchment from Audi. I get it from Amazon. Take 2 equal sized parchment paper, and then we're just going to roll this dough. I'm dividing it into half. And then we're just going to roll it till we get a nice thin layer, even layer. Okay. Now, when you roll, ideally don't do the roti motion. Okay, go once on top, once bottom, then again rotate. Center se again upar once, and center se niche once. That way you will get a much even layer quickly. Okay. Now to check for evenness, right now you won't be able to see, but no, not possible. But what to do? You just hold it like this against light. Okay, you hold your paper against light, and you should be able to see a even distribution of the cookie dough. If you find black thick pieces here and a very thin film here, that means you've not rolled it nicely. So just take back the entire dough and roll it again. Okay. Let me show you the height that I'm looking at. Okay. The thickness, of course, is going to depend on you, what kind of thickness you prefer. I generally prefer nice and thin, crispy cookies. I'm using a cookie cutter, which is a fancy circle, just perforated, frilled circle. Okay, let me show you the height. Okay, it's just this thick. It's about the height of Monaco biscuit. Yeah. Then again, just take another tray which is lined with some parchment, and you place it evenly. Place it at an even distance. You don't have to put any butter below the parchment. Okay. Now, depending on the size of your cookie, this recipe could yield you about a dozen for sure. Okay, so it's going to give you 12 cookies at least, but it depends on what size of cookies you make. I just keep this one tray for baking, and then you get to your doubts. Okay, so that's my cookie tray. The leftover dough, just collect it all together, and then you can always re-roll this. Okay. So now I'm going to preheat my oven at 180 degrees Celsius, and in goes my cookie. So before putting my cookies, I'm just going to preheat my oven. Okay. So yeah, my oven is preheating, and I'm going to just look at all your doubts and your highs. Hi Purav, hi Hetal, hello Masi. Why salt added last? No Purav, salt wasn't added last. I added salt along with the butter so that it just mixed well. I mean, there's no real order to these ingredients in this cookie. Okay, you can feel free to add. You can just dump everything together, but just make sure you mix your sugar and butter well. because it needs to be combined well. Okay, so apart from the sugar and butter, you can add your salt, flours, and your jeera all together, and then just give it a nice mix. Okay. Hello, Jitin. Hi, Manjari. Just folding, I guess. I didn't get your question, Purav. Zabi. Okay, you can add caster sugar, but there is a certain science to adding caster sugar versus when you add powdered sugar. So when you add caster sugar to your cookies, you generally add caster sugar to your cookies like your chocolate chip cookies, where you want a crunchy texture. So when you break them, it's also a little crunchy. Okay. When you add powdered sugar, your cookie is very sandy. So when you break this cookie in your hand, you're gonna get very small particles like sand. So it just melts in your mouth. When you add caster sugar, that cookie will not melt in your mouth. So that's the difference. If you have caster sugar, you can just grind your caster sugar in the mixer, and yeah, feel free to use that. Okay. So just keep in mind, if you use caster sugar, you will not get that melt in your mouth texture. Okay. Okay, while adding milk, no, you don't need to mash it hard. You just have to mix it. So, like I said, you're not kneading your dough. If you knead your dough too much, your cookie again will tend to get very dense. Okay, you don't want that. You want a very light cookie. So you just mix the milk in. Okay. Thanks, Hetal. Up to Jigna. Thank you, Jigna. Thank you, Jitain. Hi, Zenia. I'm glad you joined. Do I need to puncture with fork while placing on tray? No, you don't need to puncture these cookies while placing on the tray. You can just bake them as it is. Okay. I got this cutter. This cutter is a set of, I think, 5 more cutters. I got this from my pastry school, if I remember correct. Yeah, I got it from my pastry school. But you will be able to find this online on Amazon. I'm sure you'll be able to find it there. Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Good morning. No, freezing for these cookies is not required. Just in case, okay, if you end up adding a lot of milk and you're not able to remove the cookie from the parchment, okay, so once you cut your cookies and you're not able to remove the cookie from the parchment, that's when you have to freeze, just so that it's easy to remove the cut cookie from the parchment and place it on top of the baking tray. Okay, otherwise freezing or chilling this dough is not required. My oven, like you all just heard, is preheated. So I'm just going to keep this in the oven for about 12 minutes and then recheck. Okay. No, Sheetal. So like I just said, freezing is only required if your cookie tends to get, if your dough is very, very soft, if you cannot lift your cookie dough after cutting, okay, that's when freezing is going to be required. Otherwise, you can just bake them right away, okay? Can we use jaggery? Hetal, I haven't really tried using jaggery to this. So like I was explaining the characteristics of different sugars, if you end up using jaggery, I'm not sure how the texture of the cookie will be. Okay, it will, of course, you will get a cookie, but I don't really know. I mean, I don't know if the texture is going to be the same as if you make using powdered sugar. You can try, but I don't know the outcome. I don't know how the texture will be. The taste is going to be all right. Yeah, you can use same quantity of jaggery. Taste should be okay, but texture-wise, you can let me know if you bake. I know, Poor. Welcome. Just sure, Chirag. Yes, you can check the recipe. No problem, Firuza. It's a fairly simple recipe. You just have to cream the sugar and butter. I hope you have the recipe with you. It's there on the group. So just check it out once. How much time for baking? So baking is going to be, okay. So I will also discuss a little bit about the kind of ovens that you have. Okay, the oven that I'm using, I have 2 types of ovens. One is my Morphy Richards, which is 52-liter oven. Okay, I'm not very fond of that oven because the temperature keeps fluctuating, so it doesn't really give me a very precise baking. And the other one that I'm using right now, in which the small tray that I just kept in the oven, that's an LG oven. Okay, it's an LG convection oven. If you're using a convection oven, of course, it preheats on its own time, so it beeps automatically once it's preheated. So you can, if you're using a convection oven like I'm using today, you just keep it at 180 degrees Celsius for about 12 minutes. Okay, then you can check for doneness. So for doneness, I'm just going to show you how to check that. But about 12 minutes in the start, and then you increase the temperature if you want a browner cookie or if you want a crispier cookie. Okay, if you're using a OTG oven, if you're using any OTG ovens, then you again preheat at 180 degrees Celsius, and you will have to bake again for about 12 to 14 minutes. My convection, if I bake in my OTG, the Mossy Riches that I spoke about, it's going to take more time than the OTG. So it will take about 15 to 16 minutes for sure. Okay, so that's why I prefer baking in my smaller convection oven. If you all are baking built-in ovens, so for people who have built-in ovens like Siemens or IFB or things like that in India, or for people who've joined from abroad, Xenia, for you, I suggest that you all just lower the temperature to 170 degrees, okay, and bake for about 8 to 10 minutes and start checking after 8 minutes, okay. The temperature is pretty high and the cookie bakes faster when you bake in a built-in oven. So you reduce the temperature to 170 and you start checking after about 8 minutes. So I hope I've answered your questions, Zabi. Okay, up and down or only down heating. So when you turn on the heating rod, it has to be up and down both, not just the down part, both the rods. So in OTG, it's going to be the up rod, the bottom rod, and the fan. So it's going to be a convection function as well. Yes, of course, sea salt cookie is possible. I do conduct workshops for the same. I have a Nutella sea salt cookie as well, and it's delicious. No, dear, you don't need to grease the parchment paper. Parchment paper plays the role. You place parchment paper because you don't need greasing after placing the parchment paper. So it's pre-greased, so nothing sticks on it. Okay, and that's why I suggest using Audi, because I really like the quality that these guys have. I've bought loose parchment paper from Crawford Market. It was okay once. The first roll that I got was really nice. Then I went ahead and bought 2 more rolls, which is just super crappy. So yeah, I would not suggest. It's okay to spend a little bit on Audi because then it makes baking a breeze. Okay, the task is much easier. Okay. So I guess I've answered most of your questions. Yes, I have. Yeah, okay. I'm going to show you the parchment paper again. This is the paper. Yeah. Okay. I believe the packing has changed. It's no more pink. I think it's brown right now. So it's brown and green or something of that sort. It's no more pink. So, but it's called Audi, so you will be able to find on Amazon for sure. RF also has another brand. I don't remember the name. Again, it's a brown wrapping paper, but it's a smaller roll. This roll is about 10 meters or something, if I'm not wrong. No, not mentioned, but this lasts long. Okay. Yes, sure. I'll look forward to your pictures. Xenia, the recipe is posted on the group. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I'll also post the recipe on the same thread, Xenia. So once the workshop is over, I'm just going to post the recipe in the comments and you'll be able to check. I'll tag you as well. Okay, Hetal, great. Okay, let's talk about a couple of variations. Since this recipe is pretty standard, it remains the same. It's going to give you the same output. We've added salt here to make it a little savory recipe. Okay, so it's going to be a little sweet, little savory. It's not completely salty because we've also added some sugar. Now, if you want to remove the savory element, so of course you're going to omit the jeera and you're going to omit the salt. Okay, and because you're using salted butter, you don't need to add additional salt. Um, the variations that you can do here are in the same recipe. Okay, you can add maida, you can omit maida, just use you can omit atta, you can add 100% maida only, and in that you can do a lot of variations, like you can add dry fruits, you can add orange peel, so citrus peel, just give it a nice tangy flavor. So lemon peel, orange peel, dried fruits, cranberries, you can put raisins, chocolate chips, of course. So that's going to give you a nice flavor. So you can add vanilla essence when you're adding chocolate chips. So in the same batter, you add vanilla essence, and you mix chocolate chips or chocolate chunks towards the end. Okay, so once the batters come together, you just mix in a little bit of chocolate chunks or chips, and you can just roll it as it is and keep it for baking. Some other variations could be zest. You can add zest of lemon, zest of orange. Any other interesting suggestions? Savory, I can't think of much, but you can also add a little bit of lavender to this. If you have fresh lavender essence or fresh lavender flowers, you can just, again in a mortar pestle, just crush it a little and you can add it to the batter. It's going to give a very, very nice flavor and taste. So with lavender, lemon goes very well. So that if you're adding lavender, if by chance you'll have lavender right now in hand, either fresh flowers or lavender extract, you can add some extract, and along with that also add a lemon zest, because that's a very, very nice combination. So lemon and lavender go very well together. So you can try that as well. And what else? Like jaggery. So like hazelnuts, right? If you add jaggery, again, that's going to give you a completely different flavor profile altogether. Okay, so forget the texture, but the flavor profile is going to be really nice. Okay. Ajwain, yes, ajwain. Coffee, of course, yes. So if you're adding coffee, I would suggest that you first heat your milk very well. Whenever you're adding coffee to any recipe, you heat your liquid. Okay, so be it your water, be it your milk, you just get it to a boiling hot consistency. So you just boil your milk or water, and to that you add your coffee. Okay, when you add your coffee to a boiling hot liquid, the flavors are extracted in a much, much better way. So you add coffee to your boiling milk or water, and that's when you add the coffee to your dough. So you can add coffee, of course. Coffee with chocolate, again, is a very nice combination. So you can add coffee in the milk, just mix it in the batter, and some chocolate chunks. Very nice. Peanut butter, yes, you can also add peanut butter. But if you add peanut butter, the only problem is you'll have to check for the, you can't add more than about 10 grams because the batter will become very loose. Okay, because it adds a lot of moisture to your cookies. So if you're adding peanut butter, don't add more than 10 grams. Ajwain again is a very nice combination. You can add ajwain along with the sugar only. So if you want, even if you want a savory recipe, just follow the same recipe, and instead of jeera, you can add ajwain. Again, just lightly roast it and you can crush it. Delicious. Thank you, Deepti. Great. Okay. Now, yes, you can use atta with chocolate chips. Yes. I'm just going to check. Two more minutes and our cookies will be done. Hi, Kali. You can also make also make chocolate cookies. So if you want, you can replace a part of your maida with cocoa powder. Okay, so you can remove about 15 grams of maida and replace it with 15 grams of cocoa powder. But when you're using cocoa powder, I suggest you don't use atta because your cookie tends to get very, atta gives, uh, it's going to be a little sticky. It won't be as porous and as light as a cookie you will get by using only maida. Okay, so if you you can use cocoa powder. How much sugar? uh, you can reduce sugar, but I suggest that you make this recipe, you taste it. If you don't like, you can of course omit the sugar. Okay, but no, you will have to put some amount of sugar for sure. You'll have to put about 15 grams of sugar. You can reduce 10 grams, but you'll have to put some amount of sugar because otherwise it's just going to be, there's no other sweetening agent to this. It's just going to be baked atta, which will not be nice. Sugar topping, yes, you can make a quick instant sugar topping. So you just take some icing sugar or your regular cashew sugar, mix in some lime juice and make a paste, and you can just drizzle on top. Welcome, Nasheen. Ah, yes, with cheddar cheese. That would be lovely. Okay, so guys, these are my cookies. So if you see, the sides have slightly browned, okay? And if you just turn one around, you will see that the bottom is brown as well, okay? Now here, uh, you can bake it for if you want a nice and brown cookie or a much crispy cookie, you can bake it for further 3 to 4 minutes. So a total of about 15 minutes. I've baked for 12 minutes, and the test for cookies is you have to let the cookie cool down completely. If you try to break this right now, it's going to be super soft, okay? But if you see the layers inside, okay, even though it's soft, once this cookie cools down, it's going to turn slightly harder and crunchier. So you have to let the cookie cool down completely before you can judge whether it's reached your level of crunchiness or no. So just let one cookie cool down. If not, you can bake this further for about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. To test, like I said, you just see the bottom and the sides. The sides have to appear golden brown, and the bottom also has to be slightly browned. Okay. This is I like it this way. So I'm just going to let this entire tray cool down. But this is how the texture is going to be. Okay, this is when you use atta as well. If you use maida, you'll get a much porous texture. So when you crush the cookie, it's just going to crumble in your hands. But of course, this is much healthier. So you can use atta as well. Zinia, for you, when I mention atta is whole wheat flour. So I'm just going to mention that for you. When I say atta, that is whole wheat flour, and maida is your all-purpose flour. No problem, Swati. This is going to be there on the group, so you can watch it whenever. Okay, guys, so that's your cookies, and I hope you all make these and tag me. Great. Okay, so I'm going to take your leave now. Happy baking. Bye.